Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and today I'm reviewing the Perfect Wave from the OP. The Perfect Wave is a 2 to 4 player game about just that, about building out the perfect wave. Players are trying to optimize their score while they effectively draft wave cards, put them into their board, and then go ahead and draft trick cards and put those on top of their board, and then try to score the perfect wave depending on how efficiently they've done, like, I don't know, 7 or 8 different things. In the game, what you're going to do is every single turn you have 2 actions. We have a handy dandy play rate over here, very useful to follow along over here, but you have 2 actions, and effectively an action can be taking a card and immediately playing it face down onto your board. You're going to be playing things face down, and you can check them at any point, but other players are going to have to either try to pay a lot of attention to your boards, or just not know or understand how well you're doing, or for that matter, what to deny you. So you can take a card from the board, either a wave card or a trick card. Waves and tricks, though, can only go on top of or to the right. I have to do my lefts and rights over here. On top of or to the right of your surfer. Your surfer is going to start off here, which means at the beginning of the game, you can play a card anywhere. But as you move further along, you can only play a card on top of or to the right of your surfer as they paddle out, and you do want to paddle out to maximize your score. The second action you can do is you can play a card from your hand. You're going to start off with a hand of cards, and additionally, sometimes you just want to take a card because it may not be the right choice to play now, but it might be useful to play later, and so you're going to go ahead and have the opportunity to play a card from your hand when you need to. You also can go ahead and spend a wax token to paddle out of space. You start with some wax tokens in the game, you can spend one to paddle out of space, and you can also spend one to take a discarded wave card from the board. As a free action, by the way, you can spend a wax token to discard all wave cards on the board and draw new ones, which can be very helpful when you need the right card to go ahead and complete or continue a set of cards. We'll talk about sets of cards soon. Additionally, you can spend both of your action points. You have 2 action points a turn. You can spend both of them to do one of 2 things. To activate a public goal, effectively saying, you know what, I think this public goal is what I want to score. I'm going to spend both my actions to say this is the goal that will score because it's worth 50 points. So choosing which 2 of the 4 goals are going to score is an important action in the game. You can also spend 2 action points to take another wax token, which again can be used to paddle out, can be used to take a discard a wave card, or can be used to go ahead and to wipe the board entirely as a free action. Those are the actions in the game. The most common action is going to be taking a card, playing it to your board, taking a card, playing it to your board, and the other actions are going to filter in between there. Additionally, at the end of your turn, the board is going to clear. Specifically, the rightmost column on the board is going to clear, which means unless you took a card from the rightmost column, these 2 cards are going away, and then everything, both from the cards that were cleared and from the cards you took, are going to clear from the board, filling out over here, so you can continue to put cards into your board. That is how you play the Perfect Wave. Well, that's how you take actions in the Perfect Wave. How you score in the Perfect Wave is a different story. You see, you're going to score for a few things in the game. The most important thing, though, is at the end of the game, you're going to go ahead and look at your cards, and you want them going in ascending order, meaning effectively, if you have a card system like this over here, then over here, these will wipe out. Effectively, this 10 and 11 are going to wipe out, assuming, well, you're going to look at where your surfer is going, and you're going to measure back to the shore. So however far out your surfer went, everything to the right of your surfer is not going to score and is going to be cleared. Everything to the left of your surfer, you're going to have your surfer moving as far as they can before they hit something that is no longer consistent in the descending order, and then those are going to clear, and what you're left with is what you're going to score. That's true both for the wave cards and for the cards above, and so you're playing a delicate game of trying to get cards in ascending order, but being mindful that you can only really benefit from as far out as your surfer goes, and so that's the delicate balance of the game engine. Do you aggressively paddle out and focus on the second half of the board? Do you leave things a little closer to the shore and try to build out as ambitiously as possible? Do you try to get trick cards because those can be useful, or do you just focus on a really, really long wave because that can be the thing that you're trying to do? Additionally, you're going to get points for the following. You're going to have points for every card in your wave. That's 2 that any card left in your wave, the points underneath it are going to score, which is why you want to go further out, because you can get 40, 30, 30. You can get 100 points for having 3 cards over here, but you only get 40 points for having those same 3 cards over here. So even if you're only going to have a 3-card wave, having it further out is going to be worth more points. Additionally, you'll have whatever 2 activated public goals. You can only activate 2 of them using these surfboards. Whatever 2 activated public goals will score you points as well as your private goal as well is going to score you points, and that's basically what you're doing in the Perfect Wave. Which brings us to a review, starting off with ease of play. Rulebook is very easy to dive through. It's like 2 pages, I think. Let's go ahead and open this up over here. It's a handful of pages over here as far as the rules. Not a lot of complexity going on. You're placing out cards. You're drafting out your board over here. You're trying to score as efficiently as possible as you go through it. It's a very easy game to understand, and playtime is fairly accessible, coming in at probably 30 to 45 minutes. It does depend on the player count, of course, but I'd say in the 30 to 45 minute range. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like, which is I like the To me, the main thing I like about the Perfect Wave is all the ways you're going to try to score points and the ways you can try to build out your board. Because you're going to be trying to do a lot of different things. You're going to be trying to move your surfer out because better waves are better or more efficient the further out they go. You're going to be trying to get a longer wave because a long wave can score a chunk of points. You know, if you could have 3 cards over here or 6 cards over here, these 6 cards over here would be 10, 10, 20, 20, 20, 20. That's going to be 100 points for over here. You get over here 3 cards going to be 100 points, but over here you can possibly score for all the tricks above them. And so there's lots of things to balance and consider as far as how you're trying to score points in the game, as far as what you're trying to ultimately do by the way you combine different things. There's also going to be the goals you go for. Spending 2 actions on in the game to go ahead and score those goals is going to be a big part of your game currency. The game only has a limited timer on it. It's going to be run by this trick card deck over here, which is going to have cards in it based on the number of players, but every turn players are drafting cards, and every turn the rightmost column is clearing, and once the trick cards run out, that triggers the end of the game, which means you have a very limited amount of time to get everything done. You will not get everything done in this game. You're going to be trying to get as much as you can. You're trying to get as much as you can get done as possible while juggling multiple things in terms of action economy, in terms of where your cards go, in terms of what's going to give you points, and also in terms of risking in terms of risking the various things that the cards that are going to come out. Because one thing I didn't talk about is you're going to be scoring for sets and runs of cards. A set of cards is going to, if you have like 3 10s over here, 3 10s in a row or wherever you have them, any 3 cards are going to be a set of cards and going to be scoring 30 points, and it goes up from there to 30, 50, 60, or 120 points for a set of 3, 4, or 5, or 6 cards of the same type in a row. There's only 6 of each card, but you can go ahead and hunt through the discard pile if you can, assuming your opponent didn't take them, and so you're trying to balance trying to get a set of cards in a row. You also get points for a run. A run of cards, a run being, you have to have an ascending or descending order, but a run of cards will be specifically adjacent. So you have, 6, 7, 9, 11 is a valid wave, but 7, 8, 9 is going to be a run of cards scoring 20, 30, 50, or 60 points, depending on whether it's a 3, 4, 5, or 6 card run. And you can combine runs and sets. You can have 2, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and that would be a minor run and a larger set combined together. And so you're trying to balance all these things as far as what you draft and how you build out your wave, and so there's a lot of things to consider, although that brings us to the things I don't like, which there's a bunch of things I don't like, although one really being the defining thing. The defining thing for me, the biggest issue, well, let's get to the small nitpicks first. First of all, there's a lot of card cycling in the game. You're frequently cycling cards in this card row. On a regular basis, you're just pulling out 2 cards, so this is constantly moving and being adjusted, and that's a regular mechanic in games. I find it happens a bit more in the Perfect Wave than I like compared to other games. Additionally, the hidden placement aspect, the fact that all your cards are going face down, means a few things. It means you're playing a bit of a game of memory of trying to remember where things are, or constantly checking your own cards, and I understand why it's being done. It prevents other players from knowing what your score is and planning around that. It prevents other players from denying you cards, so there's good reasons to have it done, but it results in having up to 24 cards, you're never going to have 24, but a decent amount of cards face down in front of you that you're trying to remember what your tricks score off, what your cards go for, and so it's a lot of face down cards for a good reason, but still an annoying mechanic that kind of really makes it feel much more solitaire and really also makes it feel like much more work to try to just be on top of your own cards and engine. The art, additionally, is very low-key. I'm sure it works for some people. I find the art to be a little less my personal taste. Again, these are all, for the most part, minor nitpicks. We'll get to the main one soon. I would say that the biggest issue for me is that so much of the game doesn't even happen. In the game, you're constantly choosing how to balance your score, but the problem is there's not enough time to do everything. And so you kind of have a choice of, do you focus over here on the early game and just get for a small little run over here? Do you try to paddle out and get a run over there? Keeping in mind, by the way, that the ways you paddle out are either drawing these paddle out cards over here that will let you paddle out your surfer, or spending a wax token, and there's not enough paddle out cards. I believe there's, if I recall correctly, the exact distribution, I think you get 6 paddle out cards per player, and this is 10 cards long, and there's no guarantee you'll see all of them. There's no guarantee that you'll be able to go ahead and draft them all before they go away. And you constantly have to choose between those and other things, which means to even have a chance of going all the way out, you either have to draft a majority of the paddle out cards, not just your share, but a majority, or you have to be playing tons of actions on wax tokens. So you kind of have this potential dream of how far out you can go, but you really have to spend a lot of energy to get there, and that means that as a result of it, the game offers you this large pool of how you can efficiently build out your cards, but more often than not, even if you draft a good set or run of cards, it is hard to get all those. It is is hard to get anywhere near. This is not a game but like trying to do like 70% of stuff and see what you can get. This is a game but trying to do like 30% of the possible points, which kind of makes it feel like the game's offering you a large potential pool of how you can score, but more often than not, it's a much smaller pool. It's just so hard to go ahead and spend your limited action economy on the game to focus on anything. You want to focus on scoring a goal? Great, that's going to be 2 of your action points in a game that doesn't have that many action points going on just to put the goal in play. You also have to get the goal. That's another factor. You're trying to draft cards that go on top of your various cards. But, you know, if you don't get the right set, or you don't get the right run, those are going to go ahead and be discarded entirely because your surfer isn't far out enough, or you kind of messed up your sequence, and now you have to kind of just deal with the fact that you're going to have less of a run or set than you thought you would as you go through this. And so, for me, the biggest issue I have with this game is that I really like the premise of it, but after multiple plays, it really feels like the game doesn't let you do nearly as much as it seems like you can do. It really feels like it's more of a stifling experience where you have to focus on very little, as opposed to an experience where you can feel like you're getting the fun out of all the point scoring optimization. It feels more cramped than I would like for this kind of game. As far as I can see others not liking, I don't know if I need to go there on this one. I think I have a large litany of things that didn't work for me that I couldn't think of other things that might be a problem for somebody else, because I had a decently large list this time around. Which brings us to final thoughts on the Perfect Wave, and I don't know on this one. And in general, it's interesting rating and ranking games. I find that when I like a game, when it's a good game, and then there's things I like and don't like, I find I'm very fine with that. But when I really am more frustrated with the gaming experience, I'm always torn as to how much of it is the game and how much of it is just my personal opinion with the game. Meaning how much of it is a me issue and how much of it will be a factor for you or for other players. And I just don't know in this one. Because feeling cramped in a game, like even as I talk about the things I don't like, to a certain extent that could be a pro. It could be an aspect of, great, you're trying to choose of what you can get done and you have so little you can get done and so much room to explore and you really have to focus in order to get as many points. There's lots of things that could be positives about what the game is trying to do. I think possibly for me, I viewed this as more of a lighter weight experience, more of a gateway game, and to that end, it just feels like the tightness of a heavy Euro without the tightness of the actual game supporting that, so to speak, if that makes sense. So for me, the Perfect Wave just didn't work for me. I walked in wanting to like it. I played it excited about scoring it. I had a very anticlimactic endgame where I realized I wasn't getting anywhere near as much done as I thought I would. And so I dove in again, trying it again, seeing whether I can get more done. And still the same problem, meaning even trying to adjust and temper my expectations of what is realistic in this game, it just felt a little unsatisfying in terms of what the game is offering me versus what I actually got done. And so for me, this is a 2.5 out of 5. It is not a game that works for me, but I am curious to see whether that is a me issue or whether it's an issue with the game. I just don't know. I feel that disconnect between, I feel the disconnect between the tightness of the game and what the game type is like, but I recognize that tightness in the game can be a good thing, which is why I'm conflicted. But ultimately, for my rating, it's a 2.5 out of 5. As far as other game recommendations, first of all, I'll give you Arboretum. If you're looking for games that give you sets of cards, that have you focusing and trying to create sets of cards in a much more rewarding experience for me, while being just as tight in the decision space, I think Arboretum is a phenomenal game. And if you're looking for a game all about, again, sets of cards in a totally different way, but trying to orchestrate sets of cards, again, in a fun way with a fun solo mode and all that, Keystone North America is going to have you trying to create different sets and runs of cards in ascending order, while balancing a lot of scoring objectives, but feeling like you get much more done by the end of it. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.